So we were out at practice yesterday, and Brian Kelly was gracious to give us the entirety of the practice. There are a lot of things that we walked away from. I'm going to go ahead and start with the offense because last time we did a practice report, we started off with the defense. Today, let's start off with the offense. I thought through the first team period that they did. So let me explain what a team period is if you're not familiar. Team period is basically like a mini scrimmage, okay? Very, very short mini scrimmage through practice where ones versus ones battle one another. In the first team period, the offense dominated. Not only did they dominate, they physically abused the defensive line in the interior in the running game. I look at what happened yesterday during these mini team periods as something that is very alarming, okay, for LSU football, but also how alarming is it in the sense of that this offensive line might be something very serious. By the way, Tyree Adams was at right tackle. Emory Jones was not, who I thought Tyree Adams looked freaking good yesterday. This is how team period one started off. No gain on a run by Josh Williams. Don't be excited by that because Braden Swinson swims Tyree Adams in the only play that I saw Tyree Adams give up. There was a no game on a run. By the way, they were tackling. Lacey gets a 10-yard gain on a hitch. Very next play, Josh Williams goes for 25 yards, could have gone more, goes 25 yards untouched on an inside run, inside zone. The defensive line, guys, was absolutely abused in this drive. Caleb Jackson goes for 14. Then the very next play, Garrett Nussmeier, play action pass to Kyron Lacey on a post, and he absolutely mossed Jordan Gilbert. Like, Jordan Gilbert is facing the end zone or got his face in the end zone, his back. Kyron Lacey goes over his back, catches the ball, and then scores. Nobody else was there. So they look good. A.J. Swan started off as the second-team quarterback, but would be replaced by Ricky Collins in the next team period. Son of a bitch. I kicked my damn camera. All right. All right, there we go. All right, in the same team period, the number twos went. A.J. Swan had a bad snap by DJ Chester, okay? But he could have caught it. No harm, no foul. It didn't happen. There wasn't a bad snap by DJ Chester again. C.J. Daniels goes 10 yards on a hitch route. 33 Weeks gets a tackle for loss on a toss that was from under center. I thought was interesting. They would go under center a lot yesterday. They also would run a lot of bootlegs, which we'll talk about. Josh Williams has a run for 7. A boot action, okay, by A.J. Swan thrown to Taylor for 15 yards. Caleb Jackson gets 17 yards on a run. It was a pistol inside zone run. Then Caleb Jackson would run over number 13 Swinson and will run over another defender to get 13 yards on the next play. Team one period was done. So what do we look at that? I thought that Garrett Nussmeier threw 2 passes in that team period, the hitch, and then he had the bomb to Kyron Lacey. They looked great. What also looked really good was the interior of that offensive line and the exterior with the tackles. Brian Kelly spoke about that in the post-practice report that we need to get some more outside zone runs because both of these tackles, and by the way, Tyree Adams, all 3 of them are really good. Maybe it could be something wide. So like, look, man, Lance Hurd leaves, but Tyree Adams, I mean, quite honestly, had himself a day. But we want to feature these tackles. The interior of this defensive line is being bullied. Bottom line. So the concerns that you have, the things that we touch on, the things that we talk about, they got bullied. So, if there's anything that we have to remotely understand, they got to get multiple bodies out of the portal at DT. I like Jacoby and Guillory. I do. I like Sean Washington. I like Don McKinley. It didn't matter. Now, the argument you could have is you have 4 of your 5 offensive linemen returning. Well, you had 2 replacements yesterday that dominated in DJ Chester and Tyree Adams. So what is that excuse? And it's not as if that they were running behind Will Campbell the whole time. The pistol run for 13 was run right behind Frazier and Tyree Adams. Guys, and you got bullied. Nobody in the front 7 besides Greg Penn looked worth a damn in team period 1. But hang on for a minute, because they would respond. This is the key thing that I was hoping that we would see last year that we didn't. We saw it yesterday from Blake Baker. All right. I thought defensively, okay, we would see a response that we had not seen in quite some time. Team period 2. This is where I think things got started to get a little bit interesting for the offense. Josh Williams goes for 3 yards on a toss from under center. Hilton gets 10 yards on a hitch, but has to absolutely climb the ladder. Like Chris Hilton on an outside hitch has to go up one hand, snag it, and come down. That throw was by Garrett Nussmeier. Very next play. A post route to Chris Hilton Jr. The ball died on Garrett Nussmeier. He tried to throw it deep downfield. It was massively underthrown. Sage Ryan comes away with the pick. So what happened was Sage Ryan passed off a defender into the flat, read that Nussmeier was going to the post, goes off of his man, goes to Hilton, and makes the interception. That would be the turnover. So we'll come back to Sage Ryan in a minute. But that was Sage Ryan's first interception of the day. Very next play, LSU does an outside zone run behind Will Campbell. Major Burns on an outside blitz gets a tackle for loss on Josh Williams. But after that, Caleb Jackson gets in. Inside zone, he goes for 30. He's untouched. Legitimately does not get touched. So you have two really good plays by the defense, which you might like. Honestly, you might like seeing that. But you have 2 really good back-to-back plays from the defense. The very next play, what does Joe Sloan do? Well, you know what? If we're going to throw a pick, if we are going to not be able to run on the edge, I know one place that we can run. Let's run behind the 3 guys in the interior. Caleb Jackson goes on touch for a touchdown. Bootleg, or out route, excuse me. Mason Taylor goes for 12 yards. Under center, Garrett Nussmeier does a hard count, draws off the defenders, tries to throw a fade route to CJ Daniels in the back of the end zone. He misses, and then they run in the red zone, 2nd and goal from the 7, and Caleb Jackson runs in for a touchdown. So that was the first team period, or the first team that went in that period. Here comes the second team that was led by Ricky Collins. Malachi Lane gets a rush for 15 yards. Ricky Collins throws back-to-back incompletions. He hits Mac Markaway in the flat on a boot zone read for no gain. 3rd down, okay. Why they didn't put this with 4th down is still confusing. But on 4th down, he hit Shelton Sampson in the back of the end zone, 25-yard fade route for a score. I like that Sage Ryan got the interception. I like that Major Burns came out up into the box and got a tackle for loss on an outside zone run. Again, though, didn't defeat the purpose of this defense, where all day long, when this offense wanted to get things going, they ran behind the 3 interior offensive linemen. That's a problem. And it didn't stop. It's a problem for both of your DTs. It's a problem for your backers. And I feel bad for Greg Penn, and I thought Greg Penn made a lot of great reads yesterday. Quite honestly, I thought Greg Penn had a good day, but it was washed away from he did not have the bodies in front of him that could help him flow and run and get tackles. That's the first thing. So team period 2, the defense looked good in the passing game. Did a lot better things that we saw. Sage Ryan probably with the biggest play with the pick. He would have a massive day. We're about to talk about that in just a moment. Taylor goes for 8. Williams inside. This is team period 3, excuse me. In team period 3, bootleg, Taylor goes for 8. Williams inside zone goes for 10 yards. 1st and 10. Sage Ryan, gets a pick 6 and reads a slant route, goes for 6. His second interception of the day. He would have a third one where the ball was tipped up in the air and it was picked off by Sage Ryan. Overall, then that was pretty much the last that we saw of team period 3. Overall of the offense, here's what I think. I think that you have a team that's going through some growing pains offensively. This is not the first time that there has been a practice where they've thrown around a couple of picks. But, guys, the running game is going to be their bread and butter, at least right now. Right now, their bread and butter is running the football. I think that Garrett Nussmeier, that's not going to happen again. He will be much better. Yesterday, it was just that he had an off day. I thought in team period 1, he was electric. I thought in 7-on-7, he was electric. I'm not reading off everything that they did in 7-on-7. You would be bored. But offensively, the O-line is dominating. The running backs that were in there look good. I thought Caleb Jackson was the best offensive piece that I saw on the field yesterday. He was running dudes over. He was running hard. He was talking shit. He was, patting his offensive lineman on the ass, saying, let's go. And was pretty much a big-time leader, setting the tone by lighting dudes up. I thought he looked good in pass pro. And I do think that this team is going through a little bit of an identity makeover because, look, guys, you're under center. You're doing pistol inside zones. You're somewhat going through an offensive rehaul and when you're going under center, which a lot of guys have not done. But you're also installing an entire defense. I thought basically both teams were even. I thought defense got plays. I thought offense got plays. I'm just not going to overreact to an offense that had some off parts in it. 2 picks by Sage Ryan. I think Sage Ryan knows the offensive calls, to be honest with you, because he read that slant route way too perfectly. There's no way that Sage Ryan knew that slant route wasn't coming. That is a spring camp. I know that you're throwing an inside slant. I'm taking this to the house. That's what that was. But 2 times in 2 plays, he's in the right position. He's making the play at safety. But in 7-on-7 and in the team period 1, they got absolutely abused. They got abused. So, give and take. Let's move to the defense very quickly, and I'm going to get to some of the super chats. Defensively, it's what we just talked about. I think that Blake Baker has really started to get this defense going. Look, from a schematic standpoint, you're going to play 1 free high. You're going to have Major Burns and one down at 1 line of scrimmage. You're going to have Toviano or Sage Ryan at the other, and you're going to put a lot of people on the line. You're going to have the corners that are on the boundary. They're going to play a lot of press man-to-man coverage. That's what they did yesterday, and you're going to try to stop the running game as best as you can. Yesterday, you did not. I don't know if defensively, after watching this team get dominated in the interior, that I can make a proper assessment. Because I don't think that what we're going to see in the fall is what's going to be there in the spring. Now, you're not the only team in the country that's going after defensive linemen, especially in the interior. And is there anybody that's going to go in the portal from that position that you can go and get? You got to spend what you got to spend to get somebody out of the portal to be there. You know, this team could very much benefit from a Jordan Jefferson from a year ago. Because right now, I hate to be rude to Jacobian, to Sean, and to even McKinley in a lot of aspects. You are not good there, and it showed. I think that Bo Davis has helped from a technique standpoint, but he can, guys, until he gets better personnel in here, there's absolutely nothing that he can do, in my opinion. Where we've seen, or at least where I saw schematically too, some things. Here are the three biggest things defensively that I saw schematically. Number one, Blake Baker used Harold Perkins in some very unique ways. Harold was not a factor, mainly due to the fact that he was never really targeted. They didn't run the ball in his general direction at times. They did not really go after him, but there were multiple times that they would be in a four-man front, two defensive ends standing up, two guys in the interior, two linebackers. When there was a motion, okay, you would legitimately see Perkins walk down to the line of scrimmage and more of a condensed defensive line. They are moving him all over the place. Was he an inside backer a lot of the practice? Yes. Is he going to do a lot of different things, what we've seen this spring, and come off the edge, go into the flat, be out in the slot, and then come down and blitz? Also, yes. They are figuring a lot of things out. And I do think that the offense had not seen this before, a lot of the stuff that they saw, but it doesn't matter. The secondary and the linebackers, and even some of the defensive in play at times, was good. But I will tell you something that wasn't good. You didn't get a pass rush. You let Nussett and Collins, for the most part, sit back in the pocket. And you couldn't stop anything in the running game. Guys, it doesn't matter how good I thought the secondary was at times yesterday. I thought that they did make some improvements, specifically at safety, because most of the plays were made by the safety position. Deshaun McBryde is a guy that we're gonna have to talk about, the incoming freshman from Denham, because he had the probably, other than Sage Ryan, because of the 3 interceptions. The talk yesterday was about Deshaun McBride's play. During 7-on-7, he had massive pass breakups. And the second unit against Ricky Collins and A.J. Swan, he was swarming and all over the place. He looked really good. I'll be real with you. For what Major Burns was asked to do yesterday, along with Sage Ryan, guys, the safeties were the ones that made all the plays. Let me just remind you. We have Major Burns at the line of scrimmage having 2 tackles for loss yesterday. You had 3 interceptions by Sage Ryan, who's at safety. He's not on the boundary anymore. Oh, by the way, Deshaun McBryde is literally all that anybody was talking about yesterday. It wouldn't matter in a real game. If a team can run on you like that, if Ole Miss comes into town and they can run on you like that, guys, I don't give 2 Rudy Poos who their running backs are or what they're doing. It doesn't really matter who your team is. If you cannot stop the run, that secondary is going to break and they're going to be abused. So, offensively, to wrap this up in a bow, I would just say I'm not concerned. They're doing some different personnel things. Your running game looks great. I'm not necessarily worried about Nuss at the current moment. He did throw 3 interceptions in team periods that was not good enough, but he did make some big-time plays like in the beginning of practice where he threw that deep pass to Kyron Lacey, who I think is your number 1 right now. With Chris Hilton coming up, quite honestly, and pushing him for that spot in that role. Chris had a massive day yesterday. He's not going to be necessarily looked at in team periods as a guy that you look at and say, hey, man, he had a great day. But in 7-on-7, he looked fantastic versus zone and man coverage. It wasn't his fault that Nuss threw the interception to Sage Ryan. Guys, he had beaten 3 defenders. Sage was just there and fortunate enough that Nussmeier underthrew it to get him the ball. He looked great yesterday. I thought C.J. Daniels looked pretty decent. I think he's good. I think C.J. Daniels is going to be good. I don't know if he can be great. That's how I would characterize him. I thought he was good. I don't think he'll be great. But yeah, overall good practice. All right, let me get to some of these super chats. No Sports Talk sends $199 super chat, says Deshaun McBryde is a freak, I'm hearing. Guys, he was the best player on the field a lot of times yesterday. Especially, he was definitely noticeable when he ran with the twos. When he was running with the twos, guys, he was the best player on the field. I mean, maybe other than Caleb Jackson. Now, I'll give Deshaun McBryde this. He got run over once by Caleb Jackson. Okay, but he held on and made the tackle. He met him in the hole. He honestly, I swear to God, reminds me of Grant Delpit. God's honest, truly believe that. The way that kid looked yesterday was highly impressive. I want to see him with the ones. If you get him with the ones, let's see what he can do. And if he doesn't look like he's ready, that is fine. But we need to see him get some reps there. If Major Burns or Toviano are unable to make the plays that are necessary, then push them. But I will tell you, man, you got some freaking talent at safety. Oh, by the way, speaking of safeties, because I don't want to be asked about this. Blake, did you see this? Kamarian Penton and Colin Jackson got into a little scuffle. It's spring. I thought Colin Jackson, before we didn't see him after the little incident, didn't look bad. Safety room looks good. The safety room looks good. So let's see if Deshaun McBryde takes that next step this spring. S. Young with a $199 super chat says LSU got 4 out of the 10 fastest recruits in the country in 2025. Yeah. What, son? It's not my fault that you keep losing. Go figure it out. Okay, I'll be there in a minute. Can Daddy finish his show, please? Go Tigers 195 sends a $5 super chat. Says any word on Gabe Relaford? Have high hopes for him. Didn't make an impact yesterday at all, guys. Quite honestly, there wasn't one defensive lineman, in my humble opinion, that stood out enough to where I was like, oh wow, not one. Maybe Braden Swinson. Maybe. And to be real with you, I think Deshaun Womack's got the toughest job in the country right now. Deshaun Womack, here's what I did like. I saw this yesterday. Here's something for you. Here's a little nugget that nobody would tell you. Here's something I like. Yesterday, Deshaun Womack lost 3 straight reps in pass pro to Will Campbell. And visibly frustrated. Will Campbell took him over to the side, and they were chit-chatting, and they were going through some different move stuff. Initiated by Will Campbell. Deshaun Womack might be in spring where you don't see him and say to yourself, man, we hadn't heard a lot of him. Well, he's going to be arguably the best left tackle in the country. every single rep that Deshaun Womack takes versus Will Campbell is making him better. Every one of them. And he's going to continue to get better. I just think that Womack is going against arguably a top 3 best player in the country going into 2024. And it's just, you're just not, guys, Will Campbell might be, I think you can make the argument he might be the next, like, Will Campbell is that good right now. He is that good right now. But as far as Gabe Relaford, go Tigers 195, he did not stand out to me whatsoever. No Cap Sports Talk with a $4.99 super chat says, I'm afraid Shelton will transfer on us. He's too talented for his name to not be talked about. What's going on? I'm going to push back a little bit. Or not push back. Let me say it like this. The reason you're not hearing anything about Shelton Sampson is because, guys, he had 6 drops yesterday in crucial situations. Shelton Sampson did not look good. I mean, yesterday, he catches a fade route in the back of the end zone from Ricky Collins, which looked really nice on Ashton Stamps. But, guys, every time else that I saw him getting involved 7-on-7 against his second team, he just did not make the play. He didn't make the play. So, is he talented? 1,000%. He's got a lot of growing he needs to do. A lot of growing he needs to do. I mean, there's a reason that he's not standing out. It's because he's not making plays. I mean, it is.